In this material, you will get acquainted with the options for switching the system to gasoline power, with automatic return on gas available in the KME NEVO-SKY program. Options are available in the Configuration tab, Auto Return, Keyboard Shortcut, Ctrl plus F9. If you are interested in the information we talk about at KME Academy, we invite you to subscribe and enable notifications so that you get information about the publication of the next part. Remember, hovering over individual options, you will find additional descriptions in the so-called speech bubbles. The auto-return website has so-called strategies, enabling switching of the system to petrol with automatic return to gas, depending on the occurrence of certain conditions. These options are designed to protect the engine before working on gas in adverse conditions. Automatic return to gas means that if the conditions forcing the switch to petrol subside, there will be an automatic return to work on gas. Remember, strategies are available by selecting the Activate Strategies option. From driver version 5.1a R3, 5.2a R3 strategies are active by default. If the Sky Expert system detects that key auto-return strategies are disabled, we'll inform the user about it in the form of a warning. The frames around the active strategies will have a blue color to easily identify which ones are enabled. Switch to petrol with automatic return to gas when RPM, a bottom threshold of rotation below which the controller will switch to petrol, shall be fixed. This function should only be used as a last resort, in case that the car does not work properly on gas at idle, and no other methods allow correct adjustment. With an increase of RMPs, the system will automatically return to gas, RPM. We set top threshold of rotation, above which the controller will switch to gasoline. At lower revolutions, the system will automatically return to gas. Petrol time, the time of petrol injection, above which switch to gasoline will occur. Load, petrol. We set the load threshold, which after exceeding, system will switch to gasoline. This function should only be used as a last resort, with incorrect operation at large injection times. Before that, always correct the injection times by selecting the right nozzles. More about calibration at the point. With lower loads, the system will automatically return to gas. Engine load. We set the load threshold. See indication in the side readings bar, which after exceeding, the system will switch to gasoline. Vacuum. Vacuum, below which the switching to gasoline will occur. Option helpful for cars, which cuts out when reaching the crossroad. Gas temperature and load, petrol, engine. The threshold of the gas temperature below which the controller will switch to petrol, when at the same time the load is greater than the set level. For this option, it is possible to select the load of gasoline injectors or the load of the engine. If the gas temperature is low and the load is high, this controller switches to gasoline with automatic return to gas. This function prevents you from driving on unseparated gas during very heavy and prolonged loads. Recommended for engines over 300 HP. With lower loads, the system will automatically return to gas. Reducer temperature and load, petrol, engine. It is necessary to set the temperature threshold of the reducer, below which the controller will switch to gasoline in the case when the load is greater than the set level. For this option, it is possible to select the load of gasoline injectors or the load of the engine. If the temperature of the reducer is low and there is a high load, this controller switches to gasoline with automatic return to gas. Recommended for engines over 300 HP. With lower loads, the system will automatically return to gas. Long cutoff. with cylinder switchover. This is an option that allows you to avoid possible problems that occur when exiting the cutoff state. When this option is enabled, during a long-term cutoff state, the system will be temporarily switched to gasoline supply. It is possible to configure the duration of the cutoff state, after which the system will switch to work on gasoline, and the time after which subsequent cylinders will switch to gasoline after returning from cutoff state. Temporarily on petrol, RPM, and time. It needed to set up a lower turnover threshold, below which there will be a short-term switch to petrol. The time for which the system is going to work on gasoline and hysteresis. That is, how much should the turnover increase to reactivate this function? Mechanism especially recommended for vehicles that cut out or work incorrectly just after the revs have idling and require a temporary switch to gasoline to stabilize the operation of the engine. Cold engine, RPM, and engine temperature. The lower speed and temperature threshold of the engine, read from OBD, must be set, below which the controller will switch to gasoline. This function should only be used as a last resort, in the event that the car does not work properly on gas at idle, when it is cold and no other methods allow correct adjustment. If the revolutions or temperature increase, the system will automatically return to gas. AC Delco, RPM, and analog input. 1. Direct injection controller only. Function causing switching to gasoline. When the petrol pressure falls below the set value at idle. It should be used, for example, in some cars with AC Delco petrol controllers, which perform the test on idle by lowering the petrol pressure to low values. When the value of the analog input rises again, the car will switch back to gas. Switch to petrol when a cutoff is detected. Direct injection controller only. Causes switching to gasoline immediately after detecting a cutoff, and automatic return to gas after one work cycle, when gasoline injections appear again. Driver errors. Additional sirens are displayed at the bottom of the page, for gas controller errors for which an action can be assigned. Switch to petrol with autoback. New caption. Gas injectors still open. OBD. Problem with reading the required parameters. High temperature, current sources, direct injection controller only. Remember, each auto-return function has its own siren, which will turn red when it is active. If this episode was helpful to you, we invite you to subscribe and enable notifications. Notifications so that you get information about the publication of the next part. In the next episode, we'll tell you about the advanced configuration. Configuration Tabby Advanced. Greetings, KME Academy team.